Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing wonderful. This is Satish here. So today I would like to speak to you about the topic love failures in Vedic astrology. So ideally in Vedic astrology, we can able to see everything. That is what I keep telling to you guys. So if you just need to find an astrologer who can able to provide you the details, so detailed analysis about your own birth chart. But unfortunately, people in the market doesn't analyze your birth chart in a very broader perspective, right? So that is most disappointing thing to me as well. And in fact, that's what always keeps motivating me to provide very good services across to the people in the field of astrology. Okay, so I would like to tell you about in terms of analyzing about love life or romantic life in your birth chart. You need to first analyze the third house, fifth house, and sixth house. Why third house? Third house talks about individuality as well as the negotiations, and also in the convincing nature, right? The networking opportunities and all that. So third house should be very stronger in your birth chart to ensure that you have a promising love life. If third house lord is connected with seventh house talks about marriage, right? So then we can come into the conclusion that this person will undergo a love marriage. And whereas fifth house talks about love, romance, and relationships and all that, right? So so let's say if you have a strong fifth house, then in that point of time, in that perspective, then we can consider that this person will be having a love marriage, because fifth house lord in connecting with the seventh house. Fifth house talks about love, romance, and whereas seventh house talks about marriage, so this gives the love marriage. And sixth house talks about individuality, independence, and all that. A strong sixth house also provide a promising love life. So if at all malefics are placed in the sixth house, such as Rahu, Ketu, or Mars, so this might provide some kind of friction in the relationships. And let's say Venus, if you talk about the planet's perspective, right? If you talk about the planet perspective, Venus represents the love and relationships and attraction, whereas Moon represents the understanding. To have a promising love life, you need to have a Venus and Moon sitting in the friendly sign of your birth chart. For example, Venus should be sitting in Capricorn or Aquarius, or it should be sitting in its own signs like Libra, or in the Taurus, or he should be sitting in the Mercury zodiac signs such as Virgo or Gemini. Whereas Moon should be sitting in the positive state in the friendly signs such as Aries, Scorpio, and also he should be either sitting in Sagittarius or in Pisces, or he should be sitting in its own sign Cancer or in Leo. And also as I mentioned to the Mars zodiac signs really works well for planet Moon. Here Moon becomes very stronger, and they will be having very great understanding about their partners. Let's say Venus is debilitated or Moon is debilitated. Let's say Venus and Moon are sitting in the enemy sign of your birth chart. Then this person will be having the relationship problems, because especially Venus, if Venus is been conjunct with malefics like Saturn, Rahu, or Mars or Ketu, then there is a great sign that we can come into the conclusion that this person will be having the relationship failures. And Venus plus Mars combination across a sixth house or fifth house gives you a lot of multiple relationships. It will not be ending up with one relationship. You will be having multiple relationships, because Venus plus Mars makes us more malefic in nature. Okay, and also Saturn plus Venus combination that you have in the seventh house also provides relationship failures. So we need to analyze the placement of Mars, Rahu, as well as Venus and Moon as well in your birth chart. And let's say third house lord Venus is sitting in the seventh house. This gives the promising love. The love affair will be going in a smoother direction. And let's say Saturn planetary period comes, if Saturn or Mars is watching the Venus, this makes the relationship breaks. And also Ketu is the planet of separation, as you guys know, right? Ketu separates the separates. Ketu is all about, Rahu is all about attachment, whereas Ketu is all about separation. So if Ketu is watching your fifth house or sixth house, sixth house is all about independence, whereas fifth house is all about love, romance, relationships, and everything. So this, if Ketu watches the fifth house, this brings up the relationship failures. So they'll be having the miscommunication. And also if Mercury is debilitated, see, for love life, we don't need to just analyze the Venus and Moon. Important planets are Venus and Moon. You need to see the placement of other planets also, what kind of influence they have been into. Let's say if Rahu is watching these relationship planets like Venus and Moon, then then he will amplify that intensity. And let's say if Mercury is debilitated, Mercury is sitting in the enemy sign. Mercury is the planet of communication, right? Planet of networking, planet of friendship, and all that. If Mercury is sitting in the bad state, then there'll be a lot of communication problems. Whatever the partner says, you will be understanding in a different manner, and that will lead to the friction in the relationships, and which will also lead to the separation in the relationship. There'll be relationship failures and all that. So we need to analyze the placement of planet Rahu and Ketu as well, and also especially the fifth house should be strongly analyzed, deeply analyzed what nakshatra the planet is sitting. With the fifth house lord is receiving the benefic aspect from Jupiter. If the fifth house lord is receiving the benefic aspect from Venus or Jupiter, it is really good sign, because especially Venus is watching. Venus is the planet of love and relationship. This makes relationship very stronger. Let's say if Rahu is watching your fifth house or Ketu is watching your fifth house, then we need to come into the conclusion that there will be a relationship failure in your life. Okay, and the third house also to be analyzed, because ideally most of relationship happens through some kind of mediation and all that. So third house is very strong. Third house should be very strong to get a very good support from the friends. Most of the relationships should get united because of support from the third person. This happens if you have a third house is very stronger in your birth chart. Then we need to analyze the fifth house of love, romance, of romantic affairs, romantic angle in your life should be analyzed from the fifth house. And the sixth house talks about independence. And also the placement of sun should be analyzed. Here's why sun, because sun is the planet of independence. Sun is the planet of self. Understanding your own self matters a lot. So when sun starts let's say sun is sitting in the enemy sign. Okay, let's say sun is sitting in the place of Capricorn, and it has unfortunately happened to a fifth house in your birth chart. So what happens here is your partner will become very commanding in nature at one point of time, especially in the sun planetary period. This person will start giving importance to himself than giving importance to his partner. So that will become the little bit of friction in the relationship, which will lead to the relationship failure. Okay. So sun placement also should be analyzed. So by seeing this video, you guys would have understood it's not just about one planet or two planet alignment. We need to analyze complete 9 planets alignment to come into the conclusion that whether you'll be having relationship failures, whether you'll end up into multiple relationships, or you'll be having the love marriage. So or you'll be having a love failure. All those things can be analyzed by deeply analyzing your birth chart, which is very important. And let's say if at all you have 8th house affliction, let's say 8th house lord happened to be Venus, and Venus is sitting in the bad state. What will happen is your love will be lasting for longer period of time, let's say for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. And let's say once after the Venus planetary period, Ketu planetary period would have started. At that point of time, that will lead to a friction in the relationship. There will be a relationship failure again. Because 8th house is a Upachaya house. And being the Lord, being Venus, for example, it gives a very strong indication that you'll be getting into relationship. But that will not last for a longer time, because if malefic planets like Rahu or Saturn is watching your 8th house, that will lead to a separation, that will lead to a love failure, relationship failure. So in this way, we should analyze. So to summarize, you have to analyze 3rd house, 5th house, 6th house, 7th house, and 8th house as well. For marriage, you need to analyze the 7th house as well. Whereas for love affairs, you need to analyze the 3rd house, 5th house, and 6th house. If there is any 8th house linkage, for example, let's say 5th house lord is sitting in the 8th house, then that relationship will continue for the longer period of time. And provided 8th house should be free from the malefics. It should not be watched by Rahu, Ketu, or Saturn, or even Mars for that matter. Okay, this makes the issue. This brings up the issues. Let's say if at all Mercury is watching and Mercury is sitting in the enemy sign, then that provides you the communication problems. If Moon is sitting in the enemy sign, then that will creates the understanding problem. Your partner will not be so much understanding for you. Okay, that would have been the reason for a relationship failure. And let's say Venus himself is being into a problem. Let's say Rahu plus Venus combination, right? So Rahu's significance is ideally to amplify the planetary alignment, right? For example, if Rahu plus Venus combination, you have it in the 5th house. This provides you the very good relationship. But Rahu is something kind of a planet of amplification. It is too much materialistic in nature. Your partner would be too much materialistic. He or she will be start thinking, giving importance to himself than providing so much of care and love to you, and that would have been the reason for getting the relationship failure. So that is the reason we need to analyze the planetary alignment in your birth chart in a more deeper way. I don't think any of the astrologers have been providing the deeper analysis into Vedic astrology in terms of analyzing the nakshatras, in terms of analyzing the placements of the planets, in terms of analyzing the friendship table. For example, which planet is friendly to you, which planet is enemy to you, what kind of malefic afflictions, what kind of malefic effects that each planet is giving in your birth chart should be analyzed in a proper way to provide you the detailed analysis. In my analysis, it will be that much detailed. In fact, I'm also providing the love prospects consultation. You guys can able to check into my website. If you guys need my consultation, you guys can able to book for a one-on-one consultation so that I'll provide you the detailed analysis about your own birth chart and can provide you the analysis. Thank you so much for watching this video, and tomorrow we'll come up with another topic. Okay, bye for now.